Welcome to Comic Power. I am your host, Comic Killer 72. Today we're doing a new segment called the Quick Flip. In comic book investing terminology, the quick flip normally means you have something for a very short period of time that you sell for a profit and had no intention of holding it for the long term. At my channel, I'm going to incorporate the phrase quick flip and make it mean real down and dirty, real fast information about this channel and other comic book news. And we're going to do it in 11 minutes and 45 seconds. Okay, now that you understand, let's go ahead and get right into it. And the lead story is that Warner Brothers is releasing a Shazam movie, if you didn't know, and they finally released the first official picture of it. Shown here is Zachary Levi, who's playing the lead character of Shazam, showing off the image. I did a video previously about the set leaks that came out, and everyone had something to say about it. It's my most viewed video ever in the history of this channel. And there seemed to be three camps. There was the camp that I was on of, this looks like crap. There was a camp of people saying, let's wait and see, there may be CGI. And there was a camp of people saying they liked it like it was. The position I was trying to take was, it didn't look good, and since DC has no trust with the movie-going crowd, I was not too happy about what has came out so far. Based on the unofficial set leaks, to me, he looked sort of like Turbo Man from Jingle All the Way. And the cape looked like awful cosplay. And now that we have an official image, it doesn't help it for me. Zachary Levi as Shazam looks like Andrew Dice Clay, a comedian that was very famous in the 1980s, who's dressed up like Plastic Man, who's pretending to be Shazam. The only thing different from the set leaks is the lightning bolt on his chest looks like it's going to have some CGI glow. And you still have the big fake puffy muscles. I'm just not feeling it. I get it. DC was trying this very dark tone with Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. It didn't work. Zack Snyder got fired. They tried bringing Josh Whedon. We all know all that. So I think that Warner Brothers is pulling a 180 and trying to distance themselves from that and are going with something a little more fun. And the descriptions we got from Shazam so far is, it's going to be like the comic book movie version of Big. It was a movie from Tom Hanks. It was a movie released in 1988 about a young boy who makes a wish to be big and is aged to adulthood overnight. The character Shazam, also known as Captain Marvel, introduced in 1940. A young boy named Billy Batson meets a wizard who bestows upon him the powers of the gods: Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, and Mercury. You take the first letter of all of those names and it spells out Shazam. This character was first published by Fawcett Comics and it was an obvious ripoff of Superman. DC actually sued them for copyright infringement, and it was a battle that lasted for nearly 20 years. In the late 1950s, Fawcett stopped publishing Captain Marvel, also known as Shazam. DC assumed ownership of the character, but they did not get the Captain Marvel name, which Marvel had assumed. So the original Captain Marvel is only known as Shazam now. The Captain Marvel right now for Marvel is Carol Danvers. I know it can be very confusing. Just roll with it for right now. I'll discuss it in more detail in a future video. So the tone is going to be like Big. Is this really going to work considering the darkness we saw in DC movies so far and they're lightening it up? I really don't know, but I'm setting the bar very low. For one thing, the movie is not going to have Black Adam, which is the closest thing you're going to get to an arch enemy for Shazam, which has been confirmed to be The Rock, which would help sell the movie. But DC has been talking about a Black Adam solo movie in the future, but if Shazam is a flop, you're not going to get the Black Adam movie in the first place. Best of luck to Warner Brothers on this project. It comes out April 5th, 2019. Let's face it, I have very low expectations of what DC can release right now, other than Wonder Woman. I'm already on the record of saying they should cancel every movie except for her and do a full reboot in about 3 or 4 years. In other DC film news, the former architect of the DCEU, Zack Snyder, has been leaking information online on social media that his vision for the Justice League was based on injustice. If you have no idea what the heck injustice is, let me do a quick preview. It was a comic book series released in 2013, and there's also a video game under the same name. It's a very dark alternative universe of the DC heroes that we know. In this reality, Superman becomes a tyrant and establishes a new world order after the Joker tricks him into killing Lois Lane. And Batman leads an insurgency against this new regime. So for Batman vs. Superman, not only was Snyder using images from The Dark Knight Returns from Frank Miller, but on Batman's weird, trippy dream sequences, they were using some injustice type things. things. The stuff you've seen like this, and of course when Superman unmasked Batman. Of course there's a Easter egg for the Omega symbol of Darkseid. Let me get this straight. You're trying to set up a alternative universe Justice League before you've done the real Justice League first. This is part of the reason why DC was losing at the movies. They were trying to do too much too fast. Think about it. The first time we saw the X-Men, they did a basic X-Men story setting up the whole idea of who they are, and Magneto was the villain. They didn't try to do something like Days of Future Past where you got all these crazy things going on. You have to establish a basic story first. Before you can get into alternative universes, you must establish the main universe that everyone's familiar with first. And these are supposed to be PG-13 summer blockbuster movies and not R-rated action horror movies. Warner Brothers made a huge mistake when they hired Zack Snyder to be the architect of this universe based on the material he's done before, such as 300 and Watchmen, where you have a hard R ultra-violence which works, but it doesn't work for what they were trying to do with the Justice League. Zack Snyder seems like the type of guy that for breakfast, he eats Merlin Manson, for lunch, he eats Alice in Chains, and for dinner, gore. This straight gore. He's not the type of director that should have ever been put in charge of a PG-13 franchise. Ever. And for those of you who are mad at me for pointing out the obvious of how screwed up Warner Brothers has done the DC universe, please don't get mad at me. Direct all that hate at this man, Kevin Tsujihara. He's the CEO of Warner Brothers, who overseen this debacle. He's the one that approved the false story that Zack Snyder had left the Justice League due to the death of his daughter, but he had already fired him before that. He's the one that insisted that Justice League come out in 2017 before it was ready, against the wishes of Joss Whedon, just so that he could get his bonus for that year. This man is a sleazy, underhanded crook, and he's in charge of your DC universe. He's calling the shots. He messed it up. He should be fired, but he's still there and he's still screwing it up. And if you're a DC comic book fan and movie fan, you should be highly upset. And this is the slime ball you should direct your anger at. So you know what's next? Next up is the speculation pick of the week. And the pick of the week for May 30th, 2018 is Harbinger Wars 2, #1 from Valiant Comics. This is Valiant's summer crossover. They did the first Harbinger Wars back in 2013, where they introduced Generation Zero for the first time. This is all about a big battle versus Psiots. In the Valiant universe, a Psiot is like their version of mutants, people born with extraordinary abilities, but they must be activated. One of the key characters in this is Livewire, a technopath who can control machines. She was the lead character in a Harbinger spinoff called Secret Weapons, which was my pick of the week for June 28th, 2017. I'll put a link in the description so you can go back and watch that. The details that happen in that miniseries lead directly into this one. Of course, Bloodshot's going to show up. That's the character that's similar to Wolverine meets the Punisher meets the Terminator. The Valiant live action movies should come out as early as 2020, and Vin Diesel has been confirmed to play Bloodshot in Valiant's first live action movie, with a Harbinger movie coming soon after that in association with Sony Pictures. I'll give you more information about the Valiant universe going forward in the future in future videos, but you should be paying attention. They have the third largest contiguous universe in comics. Only Marvel and DC are bigger. The runner-up of the week is Amazing Spider-Man number 800. It's mind-blowing to think that Spider-Man has been around so long that he has had 800 issues of his main title. This is part 4 of the Go Down Swinging storyline. The Red Goblin's been introduced, and I really enjoyed what they're doing here. This is going to be an oversized issue, but they're charging $10 for it, which is ridiculous for a comic. And of course, there'll be a gazillion variant. Let me also mention Man of Steel #1 of a 6-part miniseries is dropping, and it's written by Brian Michael Bendis, who's famous for creating Miles Morales, Jessica Jones, and Riri Williams. He was the ultimate company man for Marvel, and now he has defected to DC in an exclusive deal with them. We'll see what he can do with the Man of Steel. That brings us to Jake Gyllenhaal, and the rumor mill is he's going to play Mysterio in the next Spider-Man Homecoming movie. From what I'm hearing, it's pretty much set that he's going to do it. They just have to work out the details. And this is such huge news because Jake Gyllenhaal was rumored to be replacing Ben Affleck as Batman. But let's face it, the house is on fire over there at DC, so if he wants to work for Marvel instead, that makes sense. Yes, technically Spider-Man still belongs to Sony, but the Homecoming movies are in the MCU. Personally, I love the casting. Mysterio is a very well-liked Spider-Man villain. He made his first appearance in Spider-Man number 13 back in the Ditko years. He's never been depicted in live action before, so it's a fresh face we'd like to see. That's an ironic comment considering he doesn't really have a face. He's got that big bowl on his head. They may change it for live action to make it look a lot less campy. But clearly it looks like they're setting up the Sinister Six, and Mysterio is one of the founding members with Electro, Dr. Octopus, the Vulture, Sandman, and Kraven the Hunter. Michael Keaton has already been set up as the Vulture. The Scorpion has already been set up as well in an end credit scene. The members of the Six were never set in stone. It was always like a rotating group of villains. They couldn't take down Spider-Man individually, so they teamed up to try to accomplish that goal. So I think they're laying the groundwork to set this up. They're also laying down the groundwork to give us Silk. In the comics, she's also known as Cindy Moon. In the reworking of the Spider-Man origin, she also got bit by a spider. Introduced in Amazing Spider-Man number 4 in 2014. The character is supposed to be a Korean American, and in Homecoming, they had a very small cameo of an Asian female actress, and her name just so happened to be Cindy. So is this Cindy Moon, aka Silk? We'll see. If so, I would welcome it. Spidey's gonna need all the help he can get to take on the Sinister Six. Cindy Moon is first introduced in the Amazing Spider-Man reboot number 1 from 2014, and she becomes Silk for the first time in issue number 4. Expect price increases on these if she's confirmed to be in the movie as Silk. But don't expect to see Spider-Gwen in live action anytime soon. That's an alternative universe where Peter Parker dies and Gwen Stacy assumes the role of Spider-Woman, which is just too complicated for live action at this time. But maybe one day, and it would be welcome. You know the drill. Subscribe to this channel, give it a thumbs up, and share it on social media so others can learn about Comic Power. Once again, thank you to all my subscribers and viewers. It only gets better from here. If you already haven't done so, be sure to subscribe to this channel and give it the thumbs up, and share these videos on social media so others can learn about the channel. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye.